The kitchen of the human embassy on Zarketh Prime smelled of cinnamon and warmth, an oddity on a world where the air tasted of metal and ozone. Tanya Neo hummed as she rolled dough, her flour-dusted apron bearing the stains of 1,000 meals prepared with care. She was neither diplomat nor soldier, just a cook who had followed her daughter to the outer colonies seeking adventure in her twilight years. The Zarketh had found humans puzzling. Too soft, they said. Too emotional. But they respected the embassy and the treaty held. Until the day it didn't. Tanya was kneading bread when she heard the scream. Not the controlled alarm of a security breach, but the primal shriek of a child in terror. Her hands moved before her mind caught up, abandoning the dough as she rushed into the courtyard. There, beneath the crimson sky, stood 3 Kelvari assassins, their blade arms extended, dripping with the blue blood of the Zarketh guard who had tried to stop them. Between them and their target, a small Zarketh child no more than 5 cycles old trembled, its crystalline eyes wide with fear. The daughter of Ambassador Tekvar, who had championed the human alliance against significant opposition. The lead assassin hissed in broken standard, "Move, human. This is not your concern." Tanya Neo, all 5 feet and 3 inches of her, stepped between the child and the blades. Her apron fluttered in the alien wind. "The hell it isn't," she said quietly. "You want that baby, you go through me." They laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The Kelvari were apex predators on 12 worlds. This human was old, unarmed, and soft. What could she possibly do? The first blade came fast, aimed to disable, to move her aside. Tanya didn't flinch. The monomolecular edge sliced through her shoulder and she grunted but didn't fall. Instead, she grabbed the child and pulled it behind her, pressing it against the kitchen wall. "Stay there, sweetie," she whispered in Zarketh Prime. Her accent atrocious but her meaning clear. The second blade took her in the side. The third across her back. Tanya Neo had never been a fighter, never been a soldier. But she had been a mother, and that was its own kind of warrior. She had buried one son to cancer and another to a transport accident. She had survived a husband who thought his fists solved problems, had left him and rebuilt her life from nothing. She knew how to endure. The 4th blade. The 5th. Each strike was meant to drop her, to make her move, to give them access to the child that now huddled behind her legs, clinging to her blood-stained apron. "No," Tanya said through gritted teeth. Just that no. The Kelvari were growing frustrated. This wasn't how prey behaved. This wasn't how soft species acted. The human should be dead, should be broken, should be gone. The 6th blade pierced her thigh. The 7th her other arm. The 8th scored across her chest. But Tanya Neo did not fall, did not move, did not yield even 1 inch of ground. By the time the 9th blade struck, embassy security had finally breached the courtyard. The Kelvari fled, vanishing into the warrens beneath the city. They left behind a woman who should have been a corpse, still standing, still breathing. Her hands pressed against the wall on either side of an alien child who wept into her apron. You're safe now, baby," Tanya whispered, and then her knees finally buckled. She woke 3 days later in the medical wing, her body a patchwork of regenerative gel and synthetic tissue. The Zarketh had technology humans were only beginning to understand, and they had used all of it to save her. Ambassador Tekvar stood beside her bed along with someone else, a Zarketh in the elaborate armor of the Imperial Guard, the elite protectors of the royal bloodline. "Ms. Neo," the ambassador said, his crystalline voice thick with emotion his species supposedly didn't feel. "You saved my daughter. You took 9 blades for a child not your own, of a species not your own." Tanya tried to shrug, winced. She was scared. "I couldn't just... she's a baby." The Imperial Guard stepped forward and in one fluid motion removed his helmet. His face was scarred, ancient, a veteran of countless battles. "I am Karseth, commander of the Imperial Guard," he said in perfect standard. "I have studied your species since you arrived in our space. We thought we understood you, your weakness, your sentimentality, your softness." He knelt, an act of profound significance in Zarketh culture. "We were wrong. You do not endure despite your compassion. You endure because of it. You stood when any rational being would have fallen. You protected when any logical creature would have fled." He reached out and touched the hem of her apron, still stained with her blood and the flour she'd never finished using. "By the old laws and the new, I swear my blade to you, Tanya Neo." The Imperial Guard swears to the one who wore this apron as armor and made it stronger than any steel. I don't understand, Tanya said. Tekfar's crystalline features somehow conveyed a smile. It is our highest honor. You are now under the protection of the Imperial Guard. But more than that, they have chosen you as their standard. That apron has been requested for our Hall of Heroes. Tanya looked down at the faded, stained fabric they'd preserved. It's just an apron. No, Karseth said, his voice resonant with conviction. It is a banner. It is proof that humanity's greatest strength is not your weapons or your ships. It is this: your inexplicable, illogical, beautiful willingness to stand for those who cannot stand for themselves. The story spread through the Imperial worlds like wildfire. The human grandmother who took 9 blades, the cook who became a legend, the apron that flew in the Hall of Heroes alongside the battle standards of emperors. And when the Kelvari came again, they found not just human ships but the full might of the Zarketh Empire, united under an unexpected symbol, a flower-dusted apron worn by someone who proved that the softest hearts can have the strongest spines. Tanya Neo never asked to be a hero. She just couldn't stand by and watch a child be hurt. In the end, the galaxy learned that this was what made humanity terrifying. Not their capacity for violence, but their capacity for love, and what they would endure to protect it.